The call to action at the end of your speech is the difference between just an applause or actually getting clients. I'm Kiwi with Kiwi Coaching, and I want to set you up today with the 7 things that every call to action needs. And so, if we were to break this down, say you have like an 8-minute presentation, it's not long. Your call to action is only the last little bit of your talk itself. And so, there are 7 things that you can put in here. Now, every call to action that you give sometimes doesn't have all 7 things, and that's okay. I'll show you which ones you need at certain times, but not all the time. And so, the first thing that you can do is to actually convert your talk and not so it's not just one big sales pitch. So, when you're delivering a presentation, the majority of the presentation should be giving value to your client. Not, let me tell you about my products, services, features, and opportunities and benefits and bonuses. No, 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 no. Give them value in your talk. And in the last little bit of the talk, that's where your call to action should be. I worked with someone who literally did an 8-minute talk in a room of 50 people and walked away with over $5,500 in business just from an 8-minute presentation. That's the power of a good presentation combined with a good call to action. So, good call to action. One of the very first things that you would do is introduce your call to action. The best way to do that is to ask one of your most common questions. And for example, if I go, oh, here's my call to action now, or here's the next steps for you to take, or here's my opportunity, it feels immediately like a pitch. When you pivot into it with like one of the most common questions I get is, will I work with individuals on thing you've been talking about your whole talk? The answer is yes. In that particular case, now you're pivoting using a specific question that was already going on inside your audience's head. The next thing that you want to do is you want to describe what your offer is that you're about to present in front of them. Now, a lot of people will spend a good portion of their talk talking about all the benefits, features, and bonuses. No, no, no. You don't need any of that. You need 3 short sentences. This is what I call the is, does, and means. So, this first sentence, what this is. This is give the exact thing that it is. A 45-minute message clarity call online via Zoom with me. Like what is exactly that they're about to get. If it's a paid offer, describe the package, describe the program, describe the thing that they're buying. If it's a lead magnet, describe that. What this does, this is the function. What actually changes in their business if they take you up on this offer? What changes for them personally if they take you up on this offer? What I like to put in this section here is this helps you avoid thing that you're struggling with or thing that you're worried about. And then what this means. This sentence is the transition. This is where you go from what this actually means for your health. I'm a communications coach. For your health, for your wealth, and for your relationships. Specifically giving them that setup. So it could be something like this. This is a 90-day coaching container. It turns the talks you've already are giving into booked calls, which means you stop speaking for applause and you start speaking for clients. It's that simple. Your program should show them exactly what they're getting out of it and how it benefits them. They don't need all the nitty-gritty details in that moment. That's what questions are for later. All right, then what you're going to do is you're going to give them instructions. Tell them exactly what to do to get their offer. Keep it simple. I have 2 rules for a call to action. If you're going to give them instructions to do something, you give them instructions for one thing, not many. And then number 2, keep it simple. So the next step for you is to click a link in my bio. The next step for you is comment this. The next step for you is download this. The next step for you, whatever it is for you, or go to the purchase page here and put in your information. Make the next step really simple and keep it to one. Don't ask people to do 4 or 5 things here. They will get analysis paralysis and then they won't do any of it. All right, the next thing to do is close the escape hatch. This is what I call linear path to learning. And it's basically that says whether you are just starting out or whether you are very advanced, this will help you, right? You're covering your types of clients because some people may be the beginner, some people may be the veteran. And they're like, is it for me? Will it really help me? I know what I'm doing. Or is it for me? I'm not experienced yet. I don't know what I'm doing. So, for the gambit of what you are covering in your offer, start with whether you are starting off in this particular thing or whether you are advanced in it and want to learn finer techniques, that kind of thing. And so, every prospect is always looking for a reason, oh, this isn't for me. Don't give them one. All right. Next, give them a reason to move today. So these are optional. This is one of the optional things that you can do. You can do a bonus, which is basically like if you act now, get these Ginsu knives. That's exactly what that is. It is a bonus. Now, if you don't have a bonus, you don't need this section. But if you do have a bonus, this creates buying speed, but it doesn't create desire. It gives them a reason to act now and not wait, but they're not going to buy a bunch of bonuses that are stacked on if they didn't want to buy it in the first place. So your core offer needs to be something that they want. The bonus is a reason to act right in this second. All right, the next thing for you to do, if you are selling, again, this is optional. If you're giving away a free offer, it's a free offer. If you are selling something, though, describe what that is in its value. You get this, it's $2,500. You get this, it's this, you get this, it's this, it's this, it's this. Your total value for this package is $10,000. Normally, I sell this for $5,000, but if you act today in this call, it's only $3,000. That's a price justification. You set the ceiling of your value of what they're getting, and then you drop it to the price if they act now. Now, if you're not selling anything, it's something for free, you can just say it's free and move on past this section. All right, and then last but not least, this is my favorite thing. If you were to do anything in your call to action section, I would do this. This technique called picture a day, I taught this technique to a lady who went into a sales call 30 minutes later and she closed the call and all she added was this piece. This again is a couple of short sentences. And you're going to say picture a day something concrete. Picture a day something audio. Picture a day something aspirational. And you'll say those three sections or those three sentences together in a row. And then you can say that day is your call to action away. Or you could say something like, together, let's make that day happen. So I'll give you an example of this. Picture a day when your presentations are leading to booked clients every single time. Picture a day when you get done talking and it's not just applause that you hear, but people come up to you and go, how can I work with you? Picture a day when your calendar is full of new clients and your presentations are bringing in new ones every single month. Together, let's make that day happen for you. There's an example of a picture of the day. Now, you can pause in between each one of these to let the gravity of what you're describing to your audience really resonate with them. All right, so let's take a look at this. So if you stack these into order, like what order should I do these in? First, right off the bat, introduce it with a question. Then two, describe what this is, what this does, and what this means. And then tell them exactly how to go do the thing. Then you're going to close the escape hatch. This is whether you are this, whether you are that, this is totally going to help you. So they don't have an excuse. If you have a bonus, add it. If you're selling, add price justification. If you're not selling or if it's free and you don't have a bonus, remove these two sections. And then end it with a picture a day. This is the day that they are wanting. This is the day that they want to achieve. This is the day that when you work together or do the call to action, that can become possible for them. And so, never end with a call to action. Here's the key thing on a speech. Once you give your call to action, you want to end with something else, not the call to action. So after your picture a day, you want to end with either a closing story, closing remarks, some sort of powerful statement, a reminder of what went on inside your message. My favorite way to close any sort of presentation is with a closing speech. And that goes something like this. When I was in Florida, I bought my first house. And when I bought that first house, it came with these beautiful trees on each side of the road. On the trees on each side of the road were full of blue berries, not blueberries, but just berries that were blue, and they were poisonous. So I looked at my wife and I said, I got to get rid of these trees. I got to take them down. And she looked at me and she goes, you really should call the expert. I was like, I don't want to call the expert. I am the expert. I have YouTube and a chainsaw. But I didn't have a ladder. But my wife had a minivan. So you see where this is going. So I embraced my inner Florida man. I stood on top of my minivan in my flip-flops with my chainsaw trying to cut down a tree. And I did it with minimal scratching to my wife's car. She was not impressed. But once I got that tree down to the stump, man, that stump, it stumped me. Anyway, long story short, me, the stump, a broken chainsaw, and 3 days of a lot of four-letter language. I couldn't get it out. My wife comes out onto the front porch and she's like, and I'm like, I know, I should call the expert. I kid you not. I called the expert. They came out 20 minutes. The stump was gone. The hole was gone, like it was never there when I got the expert help that I needed. And so here's what I leave this with you for. What I want you to do is get the help that you need so you're not struggling with that stump anymore, not struggling with that block, knowing exactly the formula that you need to turn your presentations into book calls.